talk about it when I gave this lecture, but it's coming to fruition and it's important to mention it. He has a sort of a stellium of planets here in the 12th house. And one of the things that the 12th house represents is self-undoing. And he has Capricorn and 0 degrees, and he's got 50 there, and he's got 0 or 23 degrees, 22 degrees, 20 degrees. And it means it kind of late in his life, and how old is he? He's pushing 60, I think. But Capricorn, one of the symbols of Capricorn is the goat. And I said a long time ago in conversations with people, I think I may have even mentioned it to Galen in one of our breakfast meetings. We go to breakfast sometimes together. He's a scapegoat.
Yeah, you mentioned
Capricorn, did I say that? Capricorn oftentimes can represent the scapegoat. And the Democrat Party may end up using him as a scapegoat, and his own father may end up using him as a scapegoat. Yeah, throw him under the bus. And they're throwing him under the bus as well.
totally.
Right. So that, and then
Jesus was the There you go. Hey.
so the other thing that I wanted to mention was I had a dream last night. It wasn't really a dream, it was an event. And I was in my bed sleeping. It wasn't too late. It might have been 11 o'clock. I was in the state that is medically known as hypnagogia. Hypnagogia is the state between being awake and falling asleep. I've experienced this in the past, just a part of it, where I'm in bed. I've got a goose down quilt on the bed. It's so warm you can't stand it. And I use that in the winter, and I got all the spring and summer stuff. I put all that away and put up fall blankets and stuff. And I'm freezing.
Oh,
I'm in bed and I'm shivering and I'm asleep, but I'm awake. I'm in the hypnagogic state. And I felt I was out of body, but I was only out of body really only about just a few inches, 2 or 3 inches. And I was able to look down as I am now, as you visualize me sleeping in bed. I'm out of body slightly, and I'm looking down, and I'm feeling electrical current going through my heart. And as I visualize it, it's like minute lightning bolts, very thin, needle-like, white light lightning bolts emanating out in all directions from my heart. I wasn't afraid. There was no feeling of sensation. I forgot that I was cold. And then I went to sleep. But I knew that I had experienced something that was very unusual, that I had never experienced before. I've had the shivers before. In the morning when I got up early, the puppy got me up. And so I came downstairs, and the first thing I called my friend, Joe Hayes, who sometime after December 22nd, I'll bring him here from England, and he'll speak to us. Extraordinary guy. Was Baker's assistant for almost 40 years. So I called Joe and told him, and Joe said, that is really interesting because he goes to all these healing groups in England and Europe. He travels to Europe, Germany and Italy, and he goes to these healing groups, and he's really into esoteric healing. And he said his healing group that night had visualized sparks of light coming from the heart chakra and healing.
Oh.
And I was, so that's right. That's the point. Very good, Randy. That's the point that I wanted to make. In quantum physics, we learned that something at one end of the universe can vibrate and be felt at the opposite end of the universe.
Yeah. How great.
We're all connected.
Yeah.
And those of us who are trying to spiritualize our lives and who are trying to be studying to be esoteric and living some sort of an esoteric life, you'll be connected to groups that you may not even be aware of. That was pretty much the way of the past. It's changing now as we're entering the Aquarian age, because the groups that the old time theosophists used to talk about, that, oh yeah, I'm a part of a group, and we're meeting on the astral plane, and sometimes they were, and sometimes they weren't. But what's happened is that the groups are externalizing, and they're in the world in numbers that they have never been before, except maybe in very ancient Atlantean times. So I thought it was worth mentioning that there was this connectedness, and it seemed like I knew it at the time of the dream. Like I said, I wasn't frightened, and I was amazed by the whatever Fohat energy, whatever it was. Electrical is the way I described it to myself as I observed it. And Fohat is an electric fire. If you read Blavatsky, Fohat, F-O-H-A-T, Fohat, it's electric fire. And
Is it Ray 1?
what?
Is it Ray 1?
Yeah, I would say it is Ray 1. Yeah.
I think it would be.
Yeah. So anyway, it was just an extraordinary event, and I wanted to share that with you. So our speaker tonight is Dr. Rhonda Sousley, who's my neighbor, and we met a couple years ago and didn't know one another and didn't know each other was esoteric, and she's going to speak tonight on the breath of life. And she's studied acupuncture in China for 3 or 4 years. She's very knowledgeable of Chinese herbs and is a Chinese herbalist. And she's going to give us a presentation tonight. So we'd like to give her applause. And Callie's you're gonna have to move there, sweetie pie. And have to move. Okay, here we got to hook you up with this.
Hook me up.
So let's do this. There you go. You can just stick that in your pocket.
Perfect.
What's that?
All right, we're wired for sound. All right, perfect. Well, initially,
It's a huge.
I had offered a live conference at my office last week, where Dr. Artis had talked about the things he had found in the vaccine and the snake venom and everything. And so originally I had wanted to give you an idea and present that. Unfortunately, the seminar was so good and there's so much information and it was so overwhelming that I'm still back on trying to understand how a plasmid reproduces, whether it's inside the bacteria or inside the yeast, and how does it clone itself. And it just got to be too much to get a presentation tonight. So in lieu of that, I thought we're in these crazy times. As David had mentioned, as the new era is ending and we're turning into coming the new age soon, there's a lot of chaos going on, a lot of stress, a lot of people have a lot of things going on in their life. So I thought this is the perfect time to talk about the breath of life.
Nice.
Because the breath is something we take for granted. It comes, it goes, we don't think about it. It's just part of everyday life. But there are more and more research studies on the proper way to breathe, how to do things. So I wanted to leave you with some information, some techniques, and some fun things that I think that should be useful. So to start out, because I love my Qigong, I'm going to have everyone stand up for a second, and we're going to get our lungs, we're going to get our lungs flowing, because we're going to be moving some oxygen tonight. So very simply, we're going to start with Tarzan. Just beat on your lungs for a second. It's good for the lymph, kind of opens everything up. And then we're going to move down the side of the rib cage. Oh, I hope I don't mess up my thing there. Okay, down, up and down the side of the rib cage. This is more the monkey, I call it. We had Tarzan, now we got the monkey. Opening that all up. And then in the back, as high as you can reach. Gonna get the back of the lungs there. Be gentle on the kidneys. Perfect. Yeah, Charlie, he's got help there. I love that. Helping each other. That's perfect. Okay. Then as we inhale, we're going to lift our shoulders up and then exhale down.
Yeah, that's good.
And then inhale up and exhale down. One more time. Inhale up and exhale down. And then we're going to open as we inhale, opening up the lungs and then exhale down. I know we're kind of tight in here. And then inhale up, opening the lungs, breathing that in and exhale down. One more time then. Then inhaling up and exhale down. And then we're going to do the V for victory. We're just going to hold our hands up, bringing victory, bringing the energy in. And I'm going to explain more about the V for victory at the end, but I want you to experience it now. So as we open up and open our lungs and to the victory. All right. Thank you. All right. So please have a seat. So the Latin term for breath is spiritus, which is spirit. And so when you technically inspire, David inspires us, we breathe in as we inspire. When a person crosses over, they expire. And that's where these terms come from. You inspire things in, your inspiration, and at the end of your life, you expire your last breath. So they say that life is just a series of breaths, inhale, exhale, repeat, but it's more than just that. And the breath is so important. You've heard the rule of threes, that you can live 3 months, actually longer, without food. You can live 3 days, maybe a little longer without water, but you can only live, 3 minutes or a little bit longer without the breath. So it is what truly, truly enlivens us. They say it's the bridge which connects life to consciousness, which unites the body to your thoughts. So there's a lovely loving kindness meditation. So the next time you're sitting down to meditate and you want to calm yourself down, it's a nice way to inhale gratitude. You can either imagine a picture or some event as you inhale and then exhale love. So you're thanking the universe for gratitude, and then you're spreading that out as you exhale and giving that gift out. Just a wonderful meditation. So just so we kind of appreciate our bodies and the breath, to me this is amazing, but the lungs use about 90 gallons of oxygen per day, which is a lot.
Wow.
When you think of the alveoli, which are the little projections like the branches in the lungs, the surface area is approximately 40 to 60 square miles.
Wow.
Which it is tremendous, yeah. We take approximately 9 million breaths per year, and we pump 2 gallons of air per minute while at rest, and 26 gallons while exercising.
Wow.
So just per minute, 2 gallons of air are going through your body. I remember when I was young and I first went to Washington, D.C., I was standing there going, I'm breathing the same air that the presidents breathed. And I thought, yeah, these old men, I don't know if that's a good thing, but it was the thought was good for a moment there. So, yeah, I did. So in Chinese medicine, I know we talked about this, the lungs represent courage. So when people go into battle, you take a deep breath, you feel strong and courageous. And they also they're somehow affected with depression. So when people are depressed, they tend to cave down, they have a hard time grasping for air, they might weep, and that also affects the lungs. And what I always found interesting in Chinese medicine, the energy of the kidney anchors the lungs. And I never really understood how that worked, but each organ feeds another organ, feeds another organ in the Chinese cycle. And the lungs actually help the kidneys. And it never made sense to me until my father, who was about 88 at the time, he had a little bit of a fever, didn't feel well, and he couldn't catch his breath. Just couldn't breathe. And we kept thinking, Dad, what is wrong? What is wrong? We rushed him to the emergency room, couldn't figure out what was happening. And as it turns out, he had a urinary tract infection. And for some reason, it affected his lungs so much that he had a hard time catching his breath. So there is that connection of the kidneys and the lungs. The Chinese knew something. And of course, everything in our body relies on oxygen. So every organ system, your sleep, your energy, your mental capacity, it all relies on the oxygen that you're taking in. And I used to think, well, we want to breathe in oxygen, good. We breathe out carbon dioxide, not good. Well, that's true to a point. But we do need a little bit of carbon dioxide in our system because that's what unlocks the hemoglobin that can be used by the oxygen and be used in the blood. So you do need a little bit of carbon dioxide. It's not entirely bad. And I remember when I was young, and I think I saw in some movies or something where a woman would get too excited and she just couldn't cope and she was breathing too hard and they put a paper bag on her face. And I thought, what the heck is that? Why is she breathing dirty air? Why is she bringing her? I didn't get that. Like, why on earth would you? So we do need some carbon dioxide. If you breathe too heavily, too much, where you're not getting that exchange of gases, they say it narrows the blood vessels that go to the brain, and it can cause people to get lightheaded or dizzy.
Can cause
So-
muscle cramps too.
Mhm, exactly. So we don't want those. The hyperventilation, yeah. So there is a time we do need some carbon dioxide. So there is a difference between the nose breathing and the mouth breathing. So just to demonstrate for you, on the count of 3, I'm going to have everyone take a deep breath in through their mouth. Okay? So on the count of 3, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Hold for a second, and then exhale. All right, now go back to regular breathing. And then we're going to, oops, keep hitting the wrong button. We're going to do a nose breath. The same thing on the count of 3. I'm going to have everyone breathe in a deep breath through their nose. All right. So 1, 2, 3. Inhale through the nose. Deep breath. Hold. And then exhale. Now, did you notice any difference? Which one did you breathe in more air?
The nose.
like the
Oh, I
nose.
feel it
Through the
feel
nose.
lower lungs
Yes.
clear.
Yes, exactly. It takes more effort of the diaphragm to draw in, to use that muscle to draw in. So you actually breathe deeper. You actually breathe in more air through the nose. So as a general rule, inhaling through the nose is the best thing,
It's more calming.
and it is definitely more calming. Yes. So whenever in doubt, you want to breathe in through the nose. If you want to release tension, breathing out through the mouth, that sigh is also very good for relaxing, relieving tension. But for the most part, we want to remember to breathe in through the nose. And I saw a TED talk years ago. And the guy said, yes, he said, if you want to remember breathing techniques, he said, remember the coffee breath and the whiskey breath. So if you want to get energy in, you want to get more oxygen in, short breaths. People, like they're getting ready for a race or they're getting ready, they want to get that energy. They want that, the coffee breath. They want that shorter breath. And if you want to,
Like a hyperventilation.
well, not hyper, but just
Right.
move, just faster, a little bit faster breathing.
Bellows breath.
Yes.
Bellow?
You take
Yeah.
in prana.
You want,
Deep
yes,
in
you
the
want
prana.
deep, you want it shorter or quicker, I should say quicker breaths.
Okay.
That's the coffee breath. Now, the whiskey breath is breathing in long, deep breaths is much more calming. Yes. So if you think of a whiskey breath versus a coffee breath, this is how the TED Talks used to describe it. And I thought was interesting. Years ago, I was talking to a doctor, and they said that very similar, that nicotine does the same thing. That when people smoke a cigarette, back when people used to smoke a lot, if they took short puffs off of it, it would invigorate them. It would stimulate them. And if they took these long drags, it would really, relax them. And, I always thought, well, isn't that interesting? They said nicotine can have different effects depending how you use it. And then I learned this and I think, well, was it really the nicotine or was it the breath? That they were taking in those short breaths, those short puffs, or the long drags.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought it was interesting. So the so-called experts say that in general, that during the day, we overbreathe. We breathe a lot. We breathe very shallow, short breaths. We breathe way too much. We're too busy. We're too stressed. We're not relaxing. Bless you. We're not utilizing our lungs or our oxygen properly. And at night, we're under breathing. How many people have sleep apnea? They're snoring. They're not getting enough breath in. I know 30-year-olds now that are on CPAP machines and everything because we're not breathing properly at night. We're not getting the proper oxygen.
Yeah, they don't breathe deeply. They have a
Well, I don't know what's
breath,
going on
and
here.
They don't get enough.
Yes,
on,
exactly. Exactly.
Shallow breath.
So the fix for that, during the day, we got to slow down, especially before your meals. When we're busy during the day, we're in that sympathetic, that energy, high intense, sympathetic nervous tension. So you want to slow down. They say even taking 9 breaths, slow breaths before you eat will get you into the parasympathetic system.
9.
Yeah,
Wow,
9 breaths before, I know.
9.
But they also say that there are breathing exercises that once you establish the phrenic neural pathway, the connection, that it will help you to breathe better at night. So it's kind of like training the brain and training the body to breathe properly, and then the body knows what to do at night. So the breath that they do for that, and this is, by the way, this is the latest research from Stanford. They did a big study on the breath. So the best way to train your body is what we call the square breathing. Very simple. You inhale for a count of 4, you hold your breath for a count of 4, you exhale for a count of 4, and then hold for a count of 4. So this is all done through the nose only. Again, we want to breathe in, and even when you exhale with the square breathing, you're going to exhale through the nose. Okay.
What did they find with this?
This they found was the best way to train the body to breathe properly.
Okay.
This is forming the neural path. Yes, yes. Yeah. It's forming the neural pathways with the diaphragm so that your body will learn to do this on its own. Yeah, Randy.
Do you know how to spell that nerve that you?
The phrenic, PHRENIC, I believe. PH, yeah. The phrenic nerve, yeah, which innervates the diaphragm. Yeah.
Is it more important to breathe with your chest expanding or your
Good question. Yes, of course. We want to breathe when the diaphragm is activated, it lowers, and the stomach, we want to do the deep belly breathing.
The belly.
Yes, at all times. We want to focus on that. Yeah. Yeah. Deeper is the belly, definitely the belly breathing.
But athletes like to breathe with their chest, don't they?
If they are in an activity, if they're running or doing something like that, yes, they're breathing more through their chest. But to relax and to really get the oxygen, you do want to do the belly breathe. And you probably know a lot more than I do.
When you watch infants breathe, a healthy.
Mhm.
Oh my God, that's
the belly.
yeah.
The belly.
Yes.
Swallow belly.
Yeah.
An infant, definitely.
So you
Yeah,
need
good
a
question.
Animals also.
We have to keep
Yeah.
that.
Square breathing with a square meal.
There we go. Yes,
Don't
yes.
be a square about it.
Don't be a square. Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So when we're breathing, like, for example, if I want to go and go forward through my nose, like I'll go
And I just didn't understand they say.
Exactly.
fill my belly first, but
Mhm.
then when I exhale, do I want to empty my belly first? On the exhale, like,
You can just, with the square breathing, and someone who knows, who's done it their whole life, you want to relax and the body will release the oxygen on its own.
okay, but
The body knows what to
fill the
do.
belly first. when
Fill the
exhale.
belly. Yes. Yes, definitely. You want to definitely do it that way. I'm sorry, Randy, did you?
Well, over at the Buddhist temple, they asked us to hold the breath. Notice the difference between the in-breath and the out-breath. So
Nice. Nice.
consciousness that we had a stage. Now they're saying there's another stage after we exhale. So there's 2 hold counts of 4. So
Perfect. Thank you.
Stanford probably
Huh.
they saw some value.
Yeah, I don't think they got quite the, the consciousness connection, but but they did see some value. So that, yes, I like that. Good. Yeah, Terry.
Strategy there. So I notice when I exhale sometimes after 4 or sometimes 6 or whatever, I must have big lungs or something because
That's good.
I have breath left. When I go, well, like when I exhale, when I get to 4, I have breath left so that if I'm not stopping at 4, there's still breath left that I
Yeah.
let go until I feel empty.
Okay.
But with this, I want to like inhale
Well-
4, hold at 4, hold for 4. But then when I exhale, even if I have breath left, I still want to stop at 4, right?
Yeah, you may need then to push the breath out
Push
to
more
4.
so it ends up
Or-
at 4 and it's empty.
Yes,
Okay.
but it shouldn't be a struggle.
Yeah.
It should be relaxing. I don't want you to push and struggle.
Right, I know what you're
But
saying.
yeah,
though. I've
yeah.
always had
And-
good lungs.
Well,
so
and you may
they
need,
fill up really
You might need to do 6.
full.
yeah, I was gonna say, you may need to do a count of 6.
Like count of 6 with all of them.
Yes, if you do a count of
Oh, okay.
6, then you're gonna hold for 6 and then exhale for 6 and hold for 6. So it always has to be a square. We don't want any rectangles or triangles so it's always,
2 other
Thanks for
things.
that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
do other
No,
things.
it has to
Yes,
know, it's
yes.
Create other
yes.
experiences.
All right. So do you want to try a couple rounds of the square
Square
breathing?
breathing.
And I'm gonna I'll start out by counting for you, and then I'll let you go in here because some people have bigger lungs than others. And some people, okay. All right. So we're gonna breathe in and out through the nose. So as long as you're sitting comfortably, it helps to close your eyes, but you don't have to. Okay, so we're gonna inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, and hold 2, 3, 4. Inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, and hold 2, 3, 4. Inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, and hold 2, 3, 4. So do a couple rounds on your own. All right, let's do one more round. Perfect. I don't want everyone falling asleep yet. No, not yet. We got a little bit more to go. All right. Now, I used to do, first of all, I used to run some And it just was natural to me to just pattern my breath with the steps and whatever. And I learned in yoga that that's not the best way to purify the blood. That during activity, if you can, you want to slow, even inhale and slow your breath down while you're doing the activity. You actually oxygenate, you get a much better response from your activity, and you actually perform a lot better and everything else. So consciously slowing down during your exercise rather than just, haphazardly allowing the breath to move. And I had also done a lot of martial arts, and I would end up looking like this. And they would always come around yelling at me going, slow down, slow your breathing. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't. Like, slow your breath now. And it was so hard when you're out of breath, but it really will help the body. It helps the heart. It helps everything to slow that breath down as best you can. It's not easy because that's me right there. So, you want to just relax as much as you can, slow the breath down during activity. And the other thing that I have learned that's important, we always think when we're lifting, like you want to always lift with your legs, don't lift with your back. But do we ever think of only moving on the exhale? So when you lift, you exhale out, or any movement. And I do this a lot with patients or people who are in pain. If they're turning, okay, only move on the exhale. Or if you're, pushing up or anything you're doing, anytime you need to move or it's difficult, always use your exhale to move. It makes it
Also, I'm sorry.
to lift. Yes. Any difficult physical activity, always on the exhale. Yes. And it will make things so much easier.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I used to work out when I was younger a lot, and I Bruce Lee taught what you were just saying there, and I learned to and then I hurt my back when I was in my middle 20s, and I learned to bend right, and I got in the habit of, like, if I go to pick any little thing up, sometimes I'll just go.
Yeah, it's the
And I
right way to
breathe
do
out,
it.
and it actually helps you from hurting yourself.
Mhm, it makes you stronger.
Little thing.
Yeah, it
It
does.
gives you more power, and you kind of let the weight kind of move, you kind of just get it going. Like they used to say in tennis, let the racket do the work.
Mhm.
And when you do that, like and then you go to pick
On
something
the
up,
exhale.
and then you just, I go through my mouth because a lot of times my nose is be stuffed up. It's hard to get that amount out without going through your mouth.
Mhm.
But it helps so much, and like I can do stuff that I hurt myself before not doing it, before I learned that. And then ever since I've done that, it's just amazing.
It is. Yeah, thank you.
know?
It works really, really well. So yeah, try and remember that. Always exhale when you're doing some physical lifting or activity. Now, the experts recently put this out, the 5-finger breathing. And this is, and I have used this with patients. If someone is really upset and they can't focus and they can't sit down and count to 4 and they're just not going to make it, sometimes it's helpful to put the mind to work. So what they do is they tell people to look at your hand, and you inhale as you actually map it out. And then you exhale when you go down. And then you inhale when you go up, and then you exhale down. And so you go through it, but it gives the mind something to do. And then you inhale up, and then you exhale down. Now this drives me crazy because the engineer in me says my fingers are different lengths, so my breaths are going to be different. It's too short to do this. I don't know. Am I supposed to be taking longer breaths here than shorter breaths here? I don't know. So other people do really well with that. It's not my favorite, but anyway, it's a good one if you are. Yes, if you're really. Yeah, I know, but that's not shorter than the rest. So anyway, it does help, especially kids or someone. If you can even just sit in the office, or if you're waiting for an appointment, and it can be helpful. But they did, this is where the recent Stanford research came in, and this has made big headlines. They did the square breathing and found that that helps with the breathing overnight, helps with the body. And then they did a big research study, and they had 3 groups. And they had one group do what's called this cyclic sighing. They had another group do the square breathing, and the third group they had meditating. And then they switched groups back and forth, so they had their own control group in there. And they found that for stress, that the cyclic sighing supposedly was actually better throughout the day than meditating. Now, meditation has so many benefits other than just stress that I'm not saying don't meditate, because it's vitally important. But if you're in a stressful situation, the cyclic sighing is wonderful. And it's very simple. Inhaling through the nose, they take in a deep breath and then add an extra sip of air, and then slowly exhale through the mouth. And that's why they call it a sigh. So you would inhale again, you inhale through the nose, a full inhale, that extra sip through the nose, and then exhale through the mouth. So we'll do, yeah, it does. I mean, your shoulders just kind of relax. And so they call that cyclic sighing. And I've had a number of people, or my son was about to give a presentation and he's all upset and he wouldn't do this. So no, come on, breathe in. And I didn't even care if you get in through your nose or through your mouth, just breathe in, add that extra little bit, and then sigh through your mouth. And it's amazing. It's a wonderful technique. It does. It does. It's a wonderful, yeah. So,
Thank you, that was nice.
and
Never heard that one.
yeah, I love it. And they also gave the method for curing hiccups. And I don't know if anyone, I can get very violent hiccups, and this does work. So
I
it's,
could teach that to a dog.
yeah, I know.
I have a dog that has.
Only whisper.
Aw. And this technique is essentially the same as the cyclic sighing, except that you take a second sip in. So essentially you're taking 3 breaths in and you're holding it as long as you can, and then you're exhaling. And I don't quite understand the mechanism, but it does something to the muscles in the diaphragm. It helps to relax them somehow. I don't know the method, but no, we'll try it. Yeah, you probably know.
Hiccups are caused by irritation to the phrenic nerve.
Okay.
So whatever is probably opening up the diaphragm or whatever, relaxing. I don't.
That would make sense. Thank you. Yeah.
And they
Randy.
told me to hold your breath as long as possible.
Well, as long as comfortable. Yeah.
Because that holding that extra
Yes. Yeah.
stops the rhythm.
Yes. So do you want to try it so that you understand? Okay. So we're going to breathe in. We're going to try through the nose. So you're going to inhale, deep breath. Okay. Take that next sip in, and then the third, and then hold it as long as you comfortably can. And then exhale through the mouth. So it's the same as a cyclic sighing, but that extra sip over the top. Yeah, two sips. Yeah, and hold it. Yes. And yes. And then,
You want some water?
so you may have to do it a couple times, but it does work. It does work. It's quite amazing.
I'm ready to lay down now. I know.
Yeah, see, that's the whiskey breath, we're doing this the longer. I know. Yeah, it does help. And then just as an interesting side note, does anyone know if you lose weight, where does the fat go? So if you lose, let's say you lose 10 pounds, where does it go?
I thought it
Breathe
turned-
it out, like it evaporates into the air, right? Like somehow,
So it,
turns into energy, doesn't it?
but then how, okay.
Yeah.
It goes out your liver.
Maybe, I don't know.
Liver, does it get processed better liver, or does it?
We would just take it down from our body.
I
Well,
don't.
you're looking,
So-
Well, our skin cells never go back to normal, right? So like, there's like, still like the shape of whatever.
I don't, you're much more advanced than I am. I don't know about that, but I can tell you
I know we
that,
shed 500,000 skin cells every day and grow more.
so you're saying the fat is
Do that
converted
without
to,
losing weight? I have no idea where.
I know, it's an interesting question, isn't it? So what they have found is that fat is actually converted to carbon dioxide and water. So the water goes into the bloodstream and everything, and it's carried out of the body through sweat and through urine. But most of it is converted to carbon dioxide and we breathe it out. So you are, isn't that? You are breathing out your fat if you are losing weight. So yeah, which I found fascinating. So yes, yes. So they say that if you lose 10 pounds, yeah, there you go.
So the fat
Um,
people then don't
so-
breathe enough, maybe.
Well, if they're going to lose weight, you want to excrete it. Yes.
Well.
Done.
yeah, you know, a tree doesn't absorb minerals out of the earth.
It's not good either.
It converts CO2
Well,
from the
that's what I'm
air
thinking.
into the
The body is
cellular
breathing and
body
and
of
it's breathing enough.
the wood.
So you're saying that we're giving them fat from our body to convert? Yes, yes, exactly.
When we get-
Yes.
when we get the oxygen, they
What
give
people
off
talking
oxygen.
about
and-
you-
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, that would make sense then, yeah. Isn't that interesting? So,
It's an interaction, not a reaction.
yeah, so technically they say if 10 pounds of fat is converted to 8.4 pounds of carbon dioxide, so almost 8.5 pounds are sent out through the lungs. And then 1.4 is excreted by urine and sweat through the water, which is, yeah. And I remember years ago, there used to be a breathercise. Do you guys remember that? It was really popular and they would just sit and breathe and I thought, well, that's the concept of it. I don't know if it really worked to lose weight, but it was an interesting concept.
And nothing comes out through excrement though,
No,
sweat and urine,
urine,
sweat and
urine,
urine.
sweat.
No, I
Lit-
meant
No,
Yeah, you would think so.
yeah, you would
Yeah.
think that you would, yes, it would come through the bowels. That's what I would think.
You know,
Yeah.
Dr. Baker said that cholesterol is exuded from the skin in people who have oily skin. I have oily skin. The cholesterol will escape through the pores of the skin.
Mhm.
And it's,
Can also make really nice skin.
and it makes, yeah, I saw an old girlfriend of mine a few years back and I was always kind of jealous of her because she had dry skin. And I had oily skin.
Yeah, and then you're not jealous anymore.
It was like a giant piece of crepe paper.
Yeah,
Yes.
7 years younger than me. She actually looked older than.
yeah, she would.
It's one of the curses of having.
Proud skin.
So your
Yeah.
metabolism actually keeps you young in a way.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense. And that's why you guys were ahead of me on the skin. So good, yeah.
So maybe that explains why people can lose weight without exercising.
They're good breeders.
Seriously.
They're good.
Because I've lost weight, like.
Well, yes, if you're
before
eating,
without-
yes,
and I
of
wasn't
course.
working out that much.
Well-
But
Yes.
I got 8.4 pounds of CO2 by your lungs and 1.4 by urine.
Depends how many
And sweat.
calories you're taking in.
Yeah, you can lose weight without exercise.
Don't tell all the people need to lose weight, but you can actually lose weight without exercising that.
Yes, it's much harder,
much. If they do
much
it,
more
they're at
difficult, but you
15.4
can
to
do it.
1.4, you know?
Yes.
Well, really, don't you think meditation in itself helps you to lose weight? I mean, I think it does, just meditating.
Well, wouldn't deep breathing?
Well, that would affect the way you eat. Everything.
Maybe deep
I think
breathing. would.
Meditation alone, I think.
Well, that was the whole concept of the breathercise, that deep breathing would help you to lose weight. And maybe it does. I don't know.
Increases the metabolism.
Might be the-
Okay,
It's all
okay,
about metabolism.
okay.
Bottom
there's a
line,
lot-
and it's gonna be excreted out somehow or metabolized at some point.
Yeah.
That makes
And they're
sense.
saying that it's metabolized and becomes CO2 or water excreted. It's gotta be excreted somewhere,
Yes,
so.
yep.
Yeah.
So breathe yourself to lower weight. So to end with, this is something, the V for victory that we did earlier. This is something that I love, and I do this all the time. I make my son do this. They did research and found that just standing with the V for victory, it does something to open up the lungs, but it also changes the brain waves.
Oh, wow.
And if you are, if it helps people become exactly more positive. They did this study on people, they became luckier. They did them before and after before gambling. Yes, and they said people would win more because they made them more positive and they were able to manifest or create. Yeah, it did. So anytime someone has a speech to give or something going on, or you're nervous or whatever, if you just do the V for victory, it is remarkable. And it activates the meridians, it opens the lungs. It's just a really great, great tidbit.
Heard of the sun salutation?
Even just a minute. I've decided 2 hours. Well, you could just a minute or two, but I've even had my son like stretch, like, just kind of stretching, just, like, so people don't think he's, so strange, or just, Yeah.
Up there and you go this way and you go that way.
Yeah.
You could always
Yeah.
start thinking,
All together.
and then people won't think that's strange.
Exactly, or just, I'm just kind of stretching, they won't know. Do the what?
All of did that to divide the red.
Ah, there we go.
Very nice.
Yeah. Perfect. Victory. All right. So I hope you remember to do some square breathing, because it will train your body to even breathe better at night. Do the cyclical sighing if you're stressed or nervous, or even having a hard time falling asleep. Just calms everything down. And that's all I had. So yeah, thank you guys. Victory. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Rhonda, I'm doing the teacup in the shower.
Oh, good for you. Okay.
And it seems to be a good stretch.
Oh, yeah.
Terry, you were here for the teacup, were you? Hold the teacup.
Oh, that was so hard. Yeah, I remember that. That was terrible hard. I cannot even do right now.
You have to stand up.
Yeah, I cannot
You're
do
going
this
to
right
do
now.
Tea, you cannot spill your tea. So it has to remain level, right? So you're gonna bring it down in front of you and around and then over the top. So in order to do that, it's out, around, it stretches the whole body.
The whole
Yeah. And then for the brain, you go back the other way. So you go back this way and then out, and down and around. Yeah.
I
like that.
It's stretching.
Like it would spill when you do that.
Yeah, but look at she does really good. You have to do it right way.
It's coordination going up in your head. You know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't do that.
Yeah. But it stretches. Off the bottom.
Yeah, you have to do. I'm not doing it because this is broken and this is painful, so I'm not doing anything. It broke last year, but it's still painful. But now this one I heard I have to have, so I don't want to push too much, but
Is it?
That's
I
why.
do right hand.
Go.
Huh?
Go.
Oh, you use both hands?
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay, David, do you want to say goodbye to everybody, maybe?
What?
Goodbye, everybody.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, folks, thanks for tuning in on the Zoom meeting tonight. It's a little noisy right now. I hope you can hear me. But we'll see you in 2 weeks. at our new moon meeting. Thank you. And happy Rosh Hashanah to all of our friends out there. And I don't know what our next talk will be, but we'll come up with something. So
Thank you,
I'll see
David.
you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring your chair back.